Hey everybody, Misty Williams here from Healing Rosie, and I have been looking forward to this interview with Brian and an upcoming event he's doing because as I was telling him before we went live here, I feel like his mission and what this project is about that we're going to talk about today really hits in the strike zone of what we're about in the Healing Rosie community. There are so many of us that are dealing with, I kind of have that umbrella flabby, foggy, and fatigue that you guys have heard me talk about. You know, we're dealing with all of the symptoms of getting older that are very common to women, the inability to lose weight, the low energy, I'm not sleeping at night, I've got crazy brain fog. A lot of women are in our community who are dealing with autoimmune issues, have gut issues and gas and bloating, and they've got pains with their joints, you know, all of the stuff that we're like, ick, make it stop. I don't want to accept that this is my life, you know, help me find a better way. Underneath all of that, I think the subtitle of what all of us are looking for is a path to aging well, or said another way, a path to not aging. You can pick, you know? So I'm really grateful, Brian, that you're taking the time to talk to us a little bit about your best years start now, an online summit that you have coming up. And you have been in this space longer than I have. You know, I've certainly been doing digital marketing for about 20 years, but you've actually been in the natural health space doing this work, and you've worked with amazing leaders in our space like Dr. Joseph Mercola and many others, and find yourself now on the other side, out in front of the camera, doing a lot more visible work around a subject that you really care about. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and why you've chosen to kind of flip the script?
Yep, sounds good. Thank you for having me. I love what you're doing, Misty. I love what you're doing. And so 20 some years now, been in the natural health industry, and that's part and parcel to the story. I've helped build Mercola.com. I've worked with a lot of names that people probably would recognize, a lot of doctors and researchers. So, and I could tend to be a little long-winded. So if I get boring, just knock on the screen or something like that. We'll start actually on a serious note, and this all ties in. So the earlier, I guess you could, I'm edging on 50 myself. I'm just right there. And the first half, I guess we'll say, of my life was, there's good, but it was filled with a lot of challenges, including my childhood. I'm not going to go deep into the story here. I came from a really rough Chicago neighborhood where I lost, friends to gangs. My father became an abusive alcoholic. And then he finally kicked that, but he was very abusive. And then he went through a horrible death of multiple diseases, really. And then I became a very young father myself and was dirt poor. I tell the story of how I had to sell my CD collection just to keep our lights on one more month, when I was younger. I went through a lot when I was in that first half of life. Depression, anxiety, all sorts of issues like that. And the one thing that actually literally saved my life was very powerful women. They stood by me, and I could get a little teary here, and I'm going to try not to, but
I love it.
Certainly my mother, certainly my sister, and other, my grandmother, who's still with us today, she's 99, and others who were just these strong figures who held me up. And, I'm alive because of that. And in fact, today I'm thriving. And it's because of that. So I'm in this industry for 20 years in natural health, seeing all these powerful solutions, being intimately familiar with them, I'm a research junkie and researching all this. Simultaneous to that, I'm watching as these very strong women get older. They hit my mom's in her low 70s, my sister's in her 50s, close friends, they're all getting older. And I'm watching as even these really strong women are being impacted in such a negative way by this big aging myth out there, that getting older, we live in this youth-obsessed culture. And there's this idea, it's so prevalent, that getting older equals basically getting a disease. You're going to become undesirable, incapable, invisible, doomed to suffering and disease. And I'm saying, wow, this is even hitting my own mom and my own sister, and it hits men too. It does, but it really, really hits women hard. And then I watched as a lot of large industries, the drug industry, cosmetic industry, some other industries, they kind of play on all this. ridiculous. And they push these ideas and they push these products, many of them, toxic, that play right into that myth. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Wait a minute. I've been in this industry a long time. I helped a lot of others. I know there are solutions. I see them every day. And I've gotten to know all these really well-known, well-respected people. Basically, long story short, I'm going to do something about it. So that is what started, the organization behind this, which is called the Art of Anti-Aging. Now, a lot of people don't like that word anti-aging, but in our sense, what we're anti is these myths about aging. The whole summit is really the pinnacle of that mission. What I've done is, and we've been working hard on this, my team and I, for over a year now. I kind of hand chose. I thought, okay, out of all of these experts that I know, all these doctors, all these researchers, I want to represent, the panorama of different areas of expertise. So not everybody just focused, for example, on skin health, although I've got that in there. Not everybody focused on brain health and avoiding Alzheimer's, but I've got, two of the top experts in the world on that in there. One of the top weight loss experts in the world. So I said, I want to give a panorama and collect the best of the best that I have access to for anti-aging and longevity. And the other problem I see out there is this, and you probably are familiar with this too, I know you are, is there is we're hit with a ton of information constantly. And it can be so overwhelming for people because they get lost in I don't even know the right thing to do anymore. Every single day, I'm seeing something else, something new, something different. And a lot of it is fed by, I'm not going to go too far down that path, but a lot of it's fed by that mega, drug industry and their idea of what health, care should be, which is basically, drugs and surgery. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get to the bottom of it with these experts. So long story short, what I've done is I've gathered 21 of the world's top anti-aging and longevity experts, again, across a range of different areas of expertise. And I'm going to hit them with one single really powerful question, about 45, 50-minute interviews with each of them, which is this: what are the three most essential things people must do to look their best, feel their best, and live a long life doing it? Yeah. We'll see where they go. I've had conversations back and forth with them, and I know they've put a lot of thought into it. So it's going to be exciting, and it's going to hit right to the heart of the matter, which I know you like to do in your work too.
Yeah. So as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking back to the experience that I had whenever I did my summit that I was sharing with you about last fall. And there were some things that I learned in my summit that I'm surprised at how much a really powerful conversation can just illuminate and enlighten me. So I'm curious, in your situation, interviewing these luminaries and people who have made it their life's work around whatever it is that you're interviewing them, what are some things that you learned that stood out to you as so profound that you're really excited to share with people?
Well, again, I'm gonna mostly let them reveal their particulars here, but I can tell you this: one of the most crucial things people need to know is how important it really is to be aware, because we are bombarded, constantly with these messages, and what people are after, like you said, is I want to sleep well every night. I want to look my youngest best, meaning not 25 years younger, like you're trying to be, 19 or something again, but, my youngest best. And so many people, there's so much progress that can be made on that front for people. And there are answers out there. And I think a lot of people feel hopeless. So what in a lot of my pre-discussions, for example, with a lot of these experts that I have on the show, it's funny because they all in different ways address and kind of say that very same thing. It's like, man, if only people were aware the extent of the power that they have to improve themselves, and in most cases pretty darn quickly across, even if they're dealing with certain diseases, but there are answers out there, and it's almost frustrating. You can see my passion here, because there are answers and there's these pieces that can change. And it really is just about clearing all that clutter and just obtaining that awareness on certain things. So, obviously we all know a lot of standard advice, although it's profound and a lot of us don't follow it, things like, eat your veggies. I mean, we know that. The question is, how do we do that, and what's getting in the way, and you'll learn those kind of things in this summit. Why we know certain things, but we don't put them, in action. What exactly is going on, and how can we clear through that to do some of these things we already know? And then, like you said, there's going to be all kinds of surprises, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you kind of have your own list of things that you really love and highly recommend people do when they're wanting to look their best, feel their best, and live a long life doing it. Why don't you share with us some of the insights that you think are most profoundly impacting people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, it really, to me, and in between, by the way, I've also spent a good amount of time as a life coach and a health coach. So where the doctors are speaking about very specific recommendations and particulars, for me, I like to, and by the way, I'm going to be doing this, during this summit, in between each interview, there's little intermission periods, and I don't just want people sitting there twiddling their thumbs. I'm actually going to give them insights, exercises, pieces of advice to do. And there's a lot, but what I would ask people, it's a little inspirational in a sense, but not really. It's actually very functional, is to question the story they're telling themselves about themselves. Because again, I can give a lot of specific, and people will learn that about the right things to do to sleep better and all that. But it takes a step back from that, because we get caught in telling ourselves that certain stories about ourselves that others might have also patterned into us. And that can take us down some very unhealthy paths. There's this mass story again out there. Let me start with that premise real quick here. So there's this mass story out in our society today. You watch TV shows, you read magazines, and the story is indeed, hey, when you hit 40, it's all downhill from there. It's a joke, and people laugh about it. But what's the basis behind that? The fact of the matter is that is a story we feed ourselves. And each of us are like, oh, now I've hit, now I'm 39, I'm just about done with life.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're not. Your best years really are just starting now. It's a mindset. And so through this summit, also in between this profound advice, from these doctors and researchers, one of whom, may very well win a Nobel Prize for the work he's doing with Alzheimer's. I'm trying to help people put this into perspective and put these things that they're learning into action in their life. And that would be one right there that I would really want to share with people. It's a profound question, but is to take a step back from yourself and say, you could change your story. So what story are you telling yourself? That you're doomed to be, 70 pounds overweight and you'll never, ever change? Of course you can. People do it every day, and you can too. Whatever that storyline that someone's caught in, if it's a healthy story and it's feeding their lives joy and happiness, good. If it's a story that's taking you down a path that you don't like, you really can change that story. And so there's this underlying, inspirational element, I guess we'll say, behind all this very practical, profound advice.
Yeah.
That's extremely important.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So in your work, you talk a lot about hidden toxins, and we actually, in our community, just started a 90-day detox challenge with Dr. Dan Pompa's True Cellular Detox
Program.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the topic of toxicity has been getting a lot of airtime in our community, and you're really passionate about hidden toxins that can really destroy people's lives. Can you discuss that a little bit more and just share what you've learned in your work about hidden toxins?
So again, here too, first of all, there are emotional toxins, and I just kind of addressed some of those, and there are very physical, real, toxins that impact you in multiple ways. So if we're talking anti-aging or longevity for that matter, a lot of us think about foods and the toxins in food. And I think that's getting deservedly so, a bright spotlight, to go organic as much as possible and, all of that. But I don't think our minds are wrapped nearly as much around all these other hidden toxins, for example, in the home. For anyone who opts, to watch the summit, which by the way is free, right now we're giving away a report, and it's called The 25 Toxins in Your Home That Cause Early Aging and Disease. Why that report? We're giving away a couple reports free, and that's one you get right away. Why that? Because it is so profoundly important. It's not merely your foods. You consume, everything that's coming into you, basically. You consume the media you watch, which is why it's great to, be paying attention to a program like yours right now versus, something else on TV, because you're feeding your brain something. You consume through your lungs, you consume through your skin. And those other ways of consumption besides the food you put in your body have a tremendous impact on how you feel on a day-to-day basis, how you feel, on a long-term basis, and how long you're going to live, avoiding disease, overcoming disease. I'm eyeballing in my office where I'm doing this interview right now, a printer on the other side of the room, for example. And that's one of the 25 items in this report. A printer emits toxins not just when you're printing, by the way. It spits out these tiny little particles. I won't go deep into the science on this, but and if it's close to you breathing that in, and it makes a difference. It does, especially if it's something that you're routinely exposing yourself to. So a printer, it's a necessity, for some of us it certainly is, but it's wise to locate this on the other side, of your space, of your room, as far away from where you routinely are sitting or standing as much as possible. And I can go on and on with examples like this. But it comes down to this awareness. It pays to know these things. It pays to know that your skin is, the beautiful thing about skin is that skin is probably the easiest thing on your body to change quickly. It's just so adept to fast change if you're doing the right things. It's also prone, to let you down, let's just say, really quickly too, if you're doing the wrong things. So it's the fastest to change in your favor, and it's the fastest to work against you if you're not doing the right things. And over the years, as I've gotten to know about chemicals that are inside these lotions and potions and creams and serum that so many people are putting on their skin, even the healthiest minded people who are eating right and exercising. And then they'll go and without looking at the label, they'll put this on their skin. And when I see it, I'm like, oh no, don't do that. Look at that label. Do you have any idea what some of those chemicals are doing to you? Your skin is a very hungry organ, and it really, loves to eat what you're putting on it, especially if those particles, which many of them are small enough, to penetrate and go into your skin. And it's such a fast and direct pathway to your body. If it's a healthy, natural, truly organic, ideally certified organic type of product, good for you. If it's a chemical, don't do it. Don't do it, no matter who you are, but certainly if you're confronting any type of issues or you feel like your skin looks old already. So yeah, you hit a passion topic for me with that one, and I can go on.
Yeah. Well, I know it's a super important area. The toxicity that I've been fixating on the last couple of years, because I'm just learning so much about it, is like metal toxicity. And I know a lot of people who've been severely damaged through mold exposure and some things that we aren't even taught as a society that there are really big problems. I mean, certainly, when you're buying a house that you want to look out for black mold, but I don't think that by and large, we really understand how these toxins are affecting us at a really deep level. And it's super important. We can do a detox like we're in the middle of right now, this 90-day detox. And if our environment is putting as many toxins in as we're taking out, we're not going to be where we want to be at the end. So it's a very, very important topic.
Absolutely. I heard, I told you I'm a research junkie, and in my own newsletters, I'm always, trying to provide people like the most important ones that I find, because I read new studies, all these scholarly articles that nobody ever wants to delve into. Well, I love them. And one of the most interesting ones I heard just a couple of weeks ago was this major study done on how much time to spend in nature. 2 hours is the prescribed minimum amount of time that you're supposed to spend in nature. Anything less, they don't see real benefit, but 2 hours or more, they're seeing tremendous benefit. Why? Well, part of the reason why is because of what you just brought up. When you're inside, as we all are way too much, today in society, inside of our homes is far more polluted, the air inside of a home, than it is outside a home. And that's almost the rule no matter where you live, even if you live in an urban, area. So stepping outside, you're replenishing, fresh air, basically. That's only one of the reasons. You've got, plenty of other reasons outside too, is you're replenishing that fresh air and reducing the amount of toxins. People notice the difference pretty darn quickly when they're doing that. So you're right. It's mold in the air. It's all dust is, I don't know. People, you don't want to know what's in dust. Actually, that's in the report, so you will know. But yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what people are going to learn by tuning into this event? And I'm super excited to be one of the people that signed up.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. Yeah, so, off the top of my head, I mean, I've got the likes of Dr. Dean Ornish in there, who's, real legend, and Dr. Joel Furman, who's, he's an advisor to the Dr. Oz show. And I think a lot of people know Dr. Furman from his books, Eat Well, to Live, and all his different books. I mean, just a number of really wonderful people who have agreed to be in this. So what, again, people will learn is I'm asking them straight. And what are the 3 most essential things people must know to look their best, feel their best, and live a long life doing it? So yeah, it's no beating around the bush. It's not, if people like, and some people do, and that's great. If they like high theory and, big ideas about, possibilities, which is all interesting to me too. But again, to me, I was like, I think people really want to clear through the clutter out there and hear this is most important if you want to look good. When I'm interviewing the skin health expert I have in there, I have a posture health expert. Nobody ever focuses on that, or I rarely see it. And I'm like, you know what? I went and, now this guy I didn't know, but I did my research. I hunted, I researched his research, and I'm like, this guy knows his stuff. I'm going to try to get this guy in there. And yeah, he's Dr. Stephen Weininger, and I've had multiple conversations with him. Fascinating man. I learned so much about the importance. Everybody sits up, by the way. When we start talking about posture, it's funny. Everyone sits up, and I just thought about it too. I'm like, okay, I'm probably not sitting very well myself. Posture is super important, not just in terms of avoiding, looking old because of that old stooped posture and all that aspect of things, but it impacts your health in so many ways. It's so interesting. So that's in there. So again, what people are going to learn is kind of like the best of the best, most important in each of these areas that matter. Brain health, heart health, avoiding cancer, like I said, posture, diets, the whole shebang across 21 different interviews. So I'm super excited about it, as you can tell. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited too. And I'm excited to give all the women in the Healing Rosie community, and a few men that really love women in our community too, the opportunity to sign up and participate. And I really appreciate you putting all this work and effort into this event, because I know what it takes. I know what it takes to do.
I know you do.
Front and behind, and it's a lot of work and truly, truly a labor of love. And I know this comes from a place of really wanting to elevate people and wanting them to have the very best resources and knowledge that they possibly can to age well and to love the journey of getting older. So thank you so much, Brian.
Oh, that was fun, Misty. I love what you're doing too, by the way. Really, the world needs more Misties. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and go sign up right now. Go sign up for Brian's event, and we will talk to everyone soon.
Bye-bye.